people who are big team boosters, who will support their team through times and bad. And if you are watching me, I am on Facebook Live. As you can see, I got a very attractive red hat on. It says "Make America Great Again." I actually decided that I'm going to wear a tie and a suit or a sport jacket during my show. I don't know if I want to, what's the word? I don't know if I want to wear a hat every time, but I think today to wear my hat is appropriate. I've been talking about teams, and I've been talking about having faith in your team, and about being excited about your team, and about being supportive of your team. Well, it just so happens that I do belong to a team, and that team is Trump Republicanism. There are Republicans that are anti-Trump. We've got some Republicans that are never Trumpers. It doesn't matter what Trump does, they will never vote for him. I don't really know if they truly are Republicans, but hey, they're entitled to their political opinion. But this political party that I've chosen to be a part of, and that I've been a supporter of all of my adult life, this is my team, and I support my team. And I can't tell you it's been easy to support my team the whole time. There have been days when I cringe a little bit when the spokesman for my team says things that are embarrassing. But at the end of the day, what he says and what he does may not be exactly in sync, but what he does is what I want him to do. President Trump is not a saint. We did not vote him into office because he is the head elder of the local Presbyterian church. We voted for him because he had a vision for the country. We voted for him because he represented an ideal and he was promoting an ideal. I must say, I kind of roll my eyes when I, excuse me a moment, how can I put this? When I hear people criticizing his choices in life, the fact that he's thrice divorced, it's painful. I know what a divorce is like. It wasn't my choice. But I am a man who has the experience of a divorce under him, and I never want to go through that again ever in my life. But he's been through it 3 times, and he's been, I think he's done it, you know, it's been out of his own choice that he's been divorced. But they call him a serial monogamist with an occasional guffaw, an occasional fall. But he understands that that's not the standard, that there is an ideal to strive for. And he is probably the first people to acknowledge that he has not lived a perfect life. But he's striving. And you've got to admire a person who knows that he has issues and is trying to work them through. At least I do. He doesn't make light of things. He pretty much responds. If something is true, he'll admit it. He'll kind of give his version of it. He won't deny it. Unlike other people, let's talk about the governor of Massachusetts, if we could, before we go to break. The governor of Massachusetts, who happens to be a Democrat. He's also a physician. In his 1984 yearbook, his university yearbook, we're not talking about a high school yearbook. We're talking about his medical school yearbook. They call him the Coon Man. For those of us who've lived in the South, we know that the word coon is a pejorative term. It is a slight against African Americans. And for a white person to call himself the Coon Man because he dresses in blackface, and that was what he was known for, everyone thought that that was, perhaps he thought it was funny, cute. 20 plus years later, or 30 plus years later, it's not as funny, it doesn't look as funny at least, as it did perhaps in his youth. Now, someone who made some kind of stupid comment perhaps on their yearbook when they were in high school, let's talk about Kavanaugh, made possibly a stupid comment in high school. Now they're threatening to cut off his livelihood and berate him and call him all kinds of names. This man, who obviously has some serious issues when it comes to race, trying to keep it on the down below, but he can't. There's a picture of him in his yearbook dressed either in blackface or in a Klansman outfit. Ha ha, very funny. And he's trying to explain it away, and then he says, "Oh, that wasn't me." Oh, really? How stupid do you think the voters are? Well, obviously stupid enough to have voted for you. But the fact that he's trying to make light of it and trying to explain it away and saying, give me the opportunity to be a different kind of man. If they had not raked Kavanaugh over the coals like they have, and if they haven't treated President Trump like the way they have, I think I would be a little bit more forgiving. And because of the nature of who I am a forgiving person. But I'm not willing to forgive him quite yet. I want to keep his feet over the coals for a little bit longer. Actually, for a lot longer. I honestly don't think that he should resign. He did make a valid point, and the point that he made is, if I resign now, I'll be known as a racist for the rest of my life. True. I have no doubt that in his youth, he probably went along with the good old boys in Virginia, making racist comments and you know, kind of being a white Southerner raised in the 70s. Fast forward to 2018, he has grown. He has changed his mind about a lot of things. I'm willing to give him that. I just wish that the Democrats could have treated Kavanaugh the same way when he was being confirmed. Notice the difference between how this governor is being treated by the media and how Kavanaugh was being treated by the media, where any possible allegation was paraded and presented to the public as absolute truth. Everything had to be retracted afterwards. But at the time, they didn't care. What was important is destroying a hardworking, honest man who perhaps in his high school days did stupid stuff. I don't know about you, but I certainly did my fair share of stupid stuff, and I have always been a pretty decent guy with occasional lapses. It's probably going to be on my headstone. How many of you have lived absolutely perfect lives that 40, 10, 20, 30, 40 years later will look back and say, I did some stupid stuff when I was young? That's why I'm actually willing to give the governor of Virginia a break. And I think Republicans should say, we are going to take the high road. And we are going to accept his admission of guilt and his apologies. We're going to take them at face value. But now we are going to expect you to be stellar. If it weren't for one big thing, I would say, let's go with that route. But for those of us who are pro-lifers, and I am pro-life, I tell people that I'm pro-choice. I just hope the mother chooses life. But I am pro-life. I believe that upon conception, the child has a right to be born. Yes, I said conception. Upon conception, the child has a right to be born, because all he or she needs is time. And this governor of Virginia actually promoted a law in Virginia, which, by the way, it's now law in New York. You can kill your baby as it's being born. And if you decide, I don't think I want my baby, let's go ahead and kill it. That's actually legal in New York. He was proposing the same thing in Virginia, and he was justifying it. Well, the baby is viable as long as the mother wants it. I say that all life comes from God. All life comes from God. Who are we to determine when life is viable and when it's not? It seems like the time for viability of the baby keeps going back, and back. 50 years ago, perhaps, a baby that was born premature, let's say 1 month premature, had a very slim chance of survival. These days, there are, 4 or 5 month old babies that are surviving outside the womb and grow up to be perfectly normal children. My son was born, my youngest son was born a month premature. He graduated with honors from high school. He is now in his second year at the University of Amherst as a biomedical engineering candidate. It ain't easy for him. He tells me it's tough, but he's hanging in there. Tell me that he was not viable and that I should have aborted him because he was going to be born premature. That is what I have a very difficult time forgiving the governor of Massachusetts for. For his politics and for his stupidity, I can forgive him. For his politics, I can understand some of the politics, but when it comes to the death and to the murder of an innocent, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I have a big problem with that. If you did not want to have a baby, by the way, if you have young children that are listening to this program, do me a favor, cover their ears for the next 50 seconds. I'm going to give you to the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Either change the channel for the next minute or cover your kids' ears. If you did not want to have a baby, why did you have sex with someone? Why did you have sex with someone whom you probably weren't married to, whom perhaps you probably didn't even know very well, and yet you decided to have sex because you thought, well, if I get pregnant, I'll just have an abortion? Because those are considered inconveniences. Now, what if the mother was raped and now she's pregnant? I do believe that there are some instances in which the psychological damage to the mother or the physiological damage to the mother is worse if the baby's carried to full term. That's why there are medical exceptions for abortions. But that's a difficult and long conversation that should be had. And the options, especially in the cases of rape or incest, the option of adoption should be talked about. It shouldn't be, oh, I made a mistake. I was drunk on Saturday night, had sex with a complete stranger. It was a total hookup. I'm just going to I'm just going to kill this baby because it's an inconvenience for me to have this baby. Well, guess what? You're an adult now. And sometimes in life you don't get do-overs. Make a stupid decision, reap the stupid consequences. We'll be right back.
February 14th, 2019, the Attleboro Public Library will...
We are on break right now. For those of you that are listening on the internet, I'm going to be covering some other topics. For those of you that are new to this show, I cover a little bit of politics in the beginning, a little bit of business, back to politics, back to business, maybe some advice. Please stay tuned.
To register, you can contact Library Director Christine Johnson by calling 508-222-0157 or via email at cjohnson@salesinc.org.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby had those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela is such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Does your back hurt after a long night's sleep? Has your mattress seen better days? Is your current bedroom furniture a mixture of different furniture sets? The Bedding Center, located on Pleasant Street and proud sponsor of this radio station and high school sports, offers a wide array of mattresses along with beds, bedroom furniture, and odd-sized mattresses and box springs. You can reach them online at bedding-center.com or by phone at 508-226-8090.
Last year, 70,200 people died from drug overdoses in the United States. But many don't know that these overdoses are not just from heroin and other illegal drugs. Some are from your bathroom medicine cabinet. This week on AACS, tune in to see Safe Disposal of Prescription Drugs, a presentation offered by the Council on Aging designed to inform the public of the many dangers that arise from expired medication and ways to get rid of it before it falls into the wrong hands. You can view this program and all of our quality programs from around the area in high definition on the AACS mobile app.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers in Business radio show with your host, Henry Roman. Oh, if I were a Democrat, I would be feeling pretty down these days. It seems like President Trump is made, not only is the man bulletproof, but he's covered with Teflon. He has been absolutely impossible to defeat, to attack, and it seems like every time. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. I'm a one-man operation for this radio show, and so if I've got to queue up my commercials, my spots, as it were, I've got to do it myself, and I must admit I'm not as good at this as some of my other colleagues, like the Pontificating with Paul radio show in the mornings. He is like a piano player with this board. He knows how to use it. He can. It's a beautiful thing to watch. May not like his politics, but I certainly do like listening to his show. He's on every morning, every day from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So Pontificating with Paul here on AM 1320. Funny, I don't know if he gives me any spots, but I'll go ahead and give him a plug or two. So I was talking about a little bit about politics and about attacks and partisan politics. I don't know about you, but I'm getting really sick and tired of it. I have my political opinions. You have yours. They may be similar. They may be alike. But just because my politics are different than yours does not give you the right to attack me personally, nor to threaten my livelihood, nor even to threaten my persona. Now, I haven't had any personal threats, and there's a reason for it. I am fully capable of defending myself. I served 6 years in the military. I have been training. I do self-defense training. I've been doing that for years. And I'm not saying that I'm bulletproof, and I'm not saying that I can't be taken out. Certainly a sucker punch will be just as effective. But I prepare. This is what I say. I prepare for the worst, and I hope for the best. As I walk out in the streets, I certainly hope for the best. I certainly hope that everyone around me are outstanding Christians, and they're just simply living their lives to the best of their abilities. But I am prepared just in case someone is not of the same persuasion. But I'm tired. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm tired of the politics that have existed, the politics of attacks. And I think recent events are helping the Democrats see that what's good for the goose is good for the gander, if that's what they want. The fact that this Democratic governor is people are demanding that he step down, and these are Democrats that are demanding. Meanwhile, most Republicans are kind of keeping quiet. We figure we don't have a dog in this fight. Let them take care of it. But I'm tired of constantly feeling like I'm under attack, simply because I've got a red hat on. Simply because I sport a National Rifle Association hat sometimes, NRA, and I get dirty looks. No one says anything to me, I will say. No one dares confront me in any way when I'm wearing my NRA hat, because they figure, if he belongs to the organization, chances are he's probably backing. So let's not mess with him. I do get the occasional dirty look. But the fact that some high visibility Democrats are now in trouble because of their previous actions, and now The Republicans are saying, should we jump in and kind of basically apply the same standard to them that they've been applying to us? Or should we kind of go back and say, this is what happens when you don't give people the benefit of the doubt, when you attack people personally for stupid things that they did, and you haven't given people an opportunity to show that they've grown. Those of you that are watching on Facebook and those of you that are listening, you tell me if you've never done anything stupid in your youth, or you've made decisions in your life that you regret, things that you wish you could do over. There are some people in prison that have made some very bad decisions, and now they're paying the price. And I can tell you, they certainly regret it. The vast majority of us, thank God, we haven't gotten to that level yet, or we haven't got caught. But there are many of us that have done things in our lives, made decisions that in retrospect we think, we shouldn't have done that. Or we have regrets. I know I regret not going to Europe with my friend when I graduated from college in 1988. But at the same time, I can't regret it too much because I married a woman shortly after college, and I have 3 lovely and wonderful children because of that marriage, which unfortunately didn't last, but it lasted long enough to produce 3 wonderful children whom I love with all my heart. And I'm so grateful to God for them. So grateful to God. And so, in a way I have a regret, in a way I don't. I wish I'd gone on that trip. Who knows how things would have been different? I don't know. But I guess in a way, I wish I'd gone on the trip, still gotten married, had 3 kids, so on and so forth. Looks like I've got a caller, and if I can get that caller, that would be great. And so, caller, I'm going to try my best to put you online. Hello, this is AM 1320. You're on the air. What's your first name? Hi, Bill. Welcome to the show. No, he hasn't. Why? Why would he call me? I'm just a little schmuck in a small town with about 10 listeners. Thank you. Whoa, that's a faux pas on my part. Yeah, Charles Baker, he's been okay. He's kind of a bit of a weak-kneed Republican, but you know what? I'll take him. But yeah, it's the Virginia, thank you, Virginia governor. I don't know about you, Bill. Have you ever made mistakes in your life? Never. Good for you, man. Are you a Catholic? Because you're. I'll vote for you for deification. Oh my goodness. Yes, that's a serious allegation. Funny that you say that because some other radio show host was playing some audio of these 2 women talking about the Kavanaugh hearings and saying anytime a woman accuses a man, she has to be believed and the man is guilty. And even Tulsi Gabbard, who is now running for president, and it's going to come back to bite her in the tuckus, or since she's Hawaiian, I'll use a Hawaiian word, okole, since I'm from Oahu. This is going to come back to bite her because she also said whenever a woman accuses a man, she needs to be believed. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's good for the gander is good for the goose. And these allegations were thoroughly researched by a newspaper, but they were not published. And of course, there's a reason. There's a reason for it because he's a Democrat, and because, quite frankly, he was a rising African American, and they didn't want to be perceived as being racist because they're telling the truth. Yes. Right. I'm one of these Republicans that feels that that we shouldn't remove him from office because of the stupid mistake that he made as a grown man in medical school. I spent 17 years in Virginia, so I understand the whole kind of subculture that exists. I honestly don't think that he meant it in a racist way. It was kind of the part that blackface is part of a culture. It's almost like a minstrel. He was an entertainer, and he thought it was kind of cool and funny, and everyone thought it was funny that he dressed up as a black guy. And I will tell you, amongst his white friends, it was funny, but I doubt that his black friends found it very funny. But you know what? I have jokes that people don't like either. I'm not going to rake the guy over the coals for that, because I believe him when he says he's had the opportunity to grow as a political figure that has worked across, the spectrum of ethnicities. I know that he's learned to work with everyone regardless. But the fact that Kavanaugh was raked over the coals because maybe he said something stupid when he was a teenager, and he was accused without any proof as a teenager. They wanted to strip this man of his livelihood and destroy him as a man. And now, we need another. So I'm glad that the Republicans aren't doing a pile-on. I'm glad that they're kind of saying, you know what, we don't have a dog in this fight. Let's kind of back off. The lieutenant governor, when I heard this on the news, I was laughing so hard because I'm thinking, oh yeah, this guy probably thought, oh, I'm next in line. Yeah, suit me up. I'm going to be the next governor. And poof, this pops up. I know. Yeah. Oh, if he was a Republican, they would have tarred and feathered him already. But because he's a Democrat from the South, who happens also to be black, they're not gonna touch him. Maybe they'll kind of hem and haw a little bit. But you're right. And whether it's true or not, these were, how old are these allegations? Over 10 years old. It's hard. It's going to be difficult. Yeah. What was funny is that he admits that he put on blackface and did a Michael Jackson impersonation. And then there was a reporter that said, well, can you still moonwalk? And he was about to do it, but his wife says, I don't doubt that he's smart because he's a doctor. But, you can be both smart and dumb at the same time. And I think this is his deal. I say let him be. As a Republican, I'm going to let him be. Let the Democrats figure out what they want to do with it. But should something else come up about a Republican, I'm going to be one of the first people to say, oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. A couple months ago you said this. Now they said this. So I think this may actually be a good thing. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I'm hoping and I'm praying. And I am a man of prayer. I'm praying with all my heart that Trump is going to use this opportunity to try to reconcile differences, to try to bring the country together. I know that for some of my friends that are staunch Republicans, what I'm speaking is anathema. It's something that we should never talk about never giving in to the other side. But if we are going to have a functioning government, we have to reach across the aisle. There has to be common ground. Absolutely. I'm hoping that it extends an olive branch. They'll probably kick it away because that's their first response. But he is talking not to the Democrats in the House of Representatives. He is talking to the American people tonight. And it is the American people that are going to decide whether they want a government that works for them or that serves interests or interest groups. Me too, Bill. Yeah. I'm getting sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I don't want to have to fight my way out of Boston because I'm wearing a "Make America Great Again" hat. If someone says something to me, a cat call, I'll say, hey, yeah, up yours too. But for it to get the way it has, where it's personal and people are destroying people's lives simply because of their political views, we are much better than this. We are much bigger than this, and it is time that. Yeah. Look at the parade in Boston. There were no buildings were burned, no cars were overturned. There was no violence in the streets. There was a bunch of people. A couple what? Well, more than a couple. More than a couple of drunks. This is Boston. But people had a good time, everyone behaved themselves to a certain extent. A celebration was had, and we all came together, and that is the case. Red or yellow, black and white. We're all stuck in the weather when it snows and when it rains and when the trains are delayed. We're all stuck. So we're all in this together. I've been thinking about it, but maybe a Saturday night. I'm trying to figure out when people would be listening and kind of what the format would be. One of the things that I have a burden for is helping young people. I see a lot of young people that are stuck in their careers, and I'd love to have a show just to talk about getting your career on track, not making any mistakes during interviews. I don't know if there's a real market for it here in Attleboro, but if I could have a couple of radio stations will pick it up, I'd love it. Wow. Where are your phones, kids? We need more of that. We need more parents to take away the kids' phones and say, that's it, you're out of here. Get out of here. My parents, I was out. I mean, as soon as school was out, I'd come in, change my clothes, out the door. They called me back for dinner and the sun was setting. And this was in New York City, in Brooklyn. So the chances of me coming home alive were, I'd say, I had a 1 in 1,000 chance of never making it back home, but, Bed-Stuy, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, I got my ghetto card. I can, sometimes I flash it on Facebook so that people can actually see it. But I had a wonderful education, I had great parents, and if I'm successful, it's because of my parents, my school, and my country. Bill, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Please call back. Have a great day, sir. I love it when intelligent callers call, when they have something interesting to say, and they can share that with the audience. This is the kind of show that I would like to have, and you are certainly welcome to contribute. The number to the call-in line is 508-222-1320. Again, that number is 508-222-1320. You don't have to agree with me. As a matter of fact, you can be very opposed to me, and we can have a civil discourse. But if you're going to call me and say things about my mama, I'm not going to allow that, and I may even challenge you to a fight. We'll be right back.
Order of Elks has been part of the Attleboro area since 1906. They have always been involved in community service and charitable fundraising, giving back to our veterans, supporting our seniors, and providing youth enrichment opportunities, such as soccer and hoop shoots, fishing derbies, and dictionary projects, while also providing academic scholarships. The Elks are over 800 strong locally, and their members are their greatest asset. To learn more, you can go to attleboroelks.org. Remember, Elks care, Elks share.
Excuse me, I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers in Business Radio Show with your host, Henry Roman. Oh, yes, if you are listening to the Star Wars Imperial March, we have got a China update for you. China, the country that scares people, that puts people on the edge. China, the rising power, a country of 1.2 billion people, a country that has said that if they don't get their way, they're just going to take it. It is a country that is ruled by despots. It is a country that does not respect its people. It is a country that runs counter to all that we believe in. So let me start, before I give you my China update, let me deliver my disclaimer, my weekly disclaimer. First of all, I am not anti-Chinese. I do not hate Chinese people. As a matter of fact, I have great respect and admiration for their history, for their language, for their culture. I admire the way they instill a sense of excellence in their children. I admire their work ethic. There are many things I admire about the Chinese people. As a matter of fact, I admire all Asians. I admire them so much that I married one. Oh, someone just mentioned, made a comment on my Facebook, so I figured I'd respond to him there. My wife is an Asian. I jokingly call her the Dragon Lady. She is a teacher in one of our local schools. As a matter of fact, the local Seventh-day Adventist school in Rehoboth, Massachusetts. It's a private school of approximately 80 students, K through 10. It's a wonderful school. And she teaches 3 grades, K through 2, so K1 and 2. And when she took over the helm, the kids were slightly behind. I will admit the previous teacher realized that she was not cut out to be a teacher. And so after a year, left. And the kids were suffering. They were way behind. And when she came on board and she was showing me the work that they were doing, I looked at her and I said, my God, you've got a bunch of illiterates on your hand. And it was, unfortunately, it was mostly true. In 8 weeks, she had whipped that class into shape. She has made her 3 grades a vibrant hub of learning. These kids, I was looking at their handiwork, they write better than I do. We're talking about first graders. They're good readers. They love to read. They love school. They run into the school. They don't just walk into class. They don't saunter and they don't reluctantly go in. They run at breakneck speed to get into the school from the cars. There was one little girl. This was a couple months ago. I had dropped my wife off and I was still in the car, but there were some cars still dropping off kids. And one little girl, she's probably like a 3rd or 4th grader, was running at breakneck speed from the van. And I could hear their mother saying, whatever the girl's name was, honey, I need to do your hair. Come back. And she turned to her mother and said, forget about it. Don't worry. I'm good. And just kept running into the school because she just couldn't wait to be there. Those are the kinds of schools that we need, where children are challenged and motivated and taught. And she doesn't waste a lot of time in teaching the kids that Mary has 2 mommies or that it's okay, to whatever. Am I criticizing the gay lifestyle? No, I'm torn about that. I say the good book says, hate the sin but love the sinner. This is not an anti-gay grant. But what I'm saying is that schools have spent way too much time being politically correct and teaching kids things that are not useful to them. Perhaps it will make them more compliant and more obedient citizens, but we don't want compliant and obedient citizens. We want informed citizens. We want people that can think and can make decisions, whether or not we agree with them. And that's why I am so happy that my wife has taken over this class, because she has taken little kids that are eager to learn and has not only imparted to them this love and this desire to learn as much as possible, but also they have perspective, because this is a Christian school. And my friends, what happens when you take God out of school? Well, where God is not invited, he doesn't go. This is not a religious program, but I am going to quote the Bible, because the Bible does say, I am at the door and I knock, and if you open the door, I will come in and dine with you and you with me. But when the flip side is also there. If you're not welcoming God into the schools, he's not going to go in. And schools that do not have, in my opinion, Christian or Judeo-Christian values are destined, the children are destined to fail as adults. Because when you insert moral relativism into the schools, when you have schools that Basically, they teach the kids that it's okay if you feel okay about it. That is when you have these perversions. That is when you have these deviances. And that's when you have kids that are confused. Are they a boy or are they a girl? Well, today they're a boy, tomorrow they're a girl. Or maybe they're neither. Maybe they're both. Maybe they're multiple things. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Well, actually, what does any of this have to do with the China update? I'll get back to the China update. I went on a rant about education. We need schools with purpose. I admire the Asian model for instilling values in their children. So I'm back to full circle here. I do not agree with the Chinese government because the Chinese government's goal is to usurp the United States, to remove us from their sphere of influence. And quite frankly, their agenda is to be the new colonists of the world. They have the people, they have the industrial base. It would be straightforward for them to mount a challenge to all the world powers. I'm sure the Russians see that. The Russians are right on the border. I'm sure the last thing the Russians want to do is for China to say, you know what, Russia, most of your people are on this side. Very few people are on this side. We're going to go ahead and take a fourth of your country, and we're going to call it New China because we've got people, we've got to find living space for them. Imperialist countries always exploit others. There is not one instance in history, not one, where an imperialist country has been a benevolent ruler. That, by the way, is true of the United States of America as well. We have been just as guilty as other nations of being imperialists. We fought a war in 1898 simply to gain territory, Spanish-American War. We just wanted territory. Spaniards had it. They were weak. We fought them. We took over Guam, Philippines, Puerto Rico, Cuba, and I forget what else. Of course, there was some token payment made, but in essence, we wanted our own little imperium. The Japanese wreaked havoc in Asia when they became imperialistic. They were some of the most vicious occupiers that the world has ever seen. Let's not even talk about the Nazis. We already know about them. I think America has learned from its imperialist past. We just want to trade with people. Give us a chance to trade. Let us figure out ways that we can do business, and let's do business. If that's the case, then we're good. We are benefiting from a strong president who has said no to China. No more stealing our stuff. No more trade deals that are advantageous only to you and not to us. No more transfers of gross transfers of wealth from our country to yours, even though we still have a trade deficit with the Chinese. No more. The benefit has been the lowest unemployment rate in our history. The lowest unemployment rates for blacks and Hispanics and other ethnic groups in the history of U.S. record keeping. Our country is growing. Our country is doing well. Part of this is because of the policies that Trump has instilled to make America great again. Whether you agree with his politics or not, his policies are making us richer and more prosperous. And if you're an American, why would you not be for that? We're not taking things from people. We are just growing our share. And there are lots of opportunities because our market truly is open for other products. Got a better product? Then we'll buy it. If not, but buy our products too. Don't put barriers up so that no one can see our products in your market. We'll be right back.
Jewish Community Center in Providence will host an environmental fair on Saturday, February 2nd from 7 to 8 p.m. The fair's purpose is to promote a greener environment. The event will present environmental organizations that
Thank you for listening.
Recycling, gardening, and other green practices. The fair will feature both Rhode Island and Israeli environmental organizations.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting funded. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Guild Foundation and the Ad Council.
W.H. Riley is here when it comes to heating your home or business this winter. W.H. Riley & Son always welcomes new customers. They're a family-run business serving the Attleboro area since 1873. They offer heating oil and propane with 24-hour emergency service. For more information, you can contact them at 508-699-4651 or their website, whriley.com. W.H. Riley & Son, 35 Chestnut Street, North Attleboro, a company Greater Attleboro residents have called on.
We're almost on the air.
1873.
One more minute. I guess not. You're listening to the Drive Time Careers and Business Radio Show with your host, Henry Roman. Oh, yes. Those of you who know when I'm in a good mood, I like to sing along. Let's sing along. Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. Oh, yes. I don't know about you, but there have been times in my careers when I've been wanting to say that to my employer. Yeah, you can take this job and shove it, but I am not that kind of person. I would much rather be polite and be wrong than to be right and be impolite. I learned that from an HR manager that I worked with. I like that opinion. There have been times in my careers when I've had miserable jobs and I've been wanting to tell them, take this job and shove it. There was a job, I won't name the company, because I think the person that I worked for, I think she's dead. she was in her 70s when I worked for her, and that was what, almost 10 years ago, so I don't know. Well, I hope she's still alive. But she used to call me a lazy Hawaiian. And everything that I would do, and whatever comment, she'd always say, oh, well, you know, you lazy Hawaiians. And, you know, at first it was funny because, you know, it was just maybe a little, kind of a bit of an ethnic poke or a cultural poke. But after a while, I started to really dislike that. I worked 50 hours a week for that company. Plus, I commuted another, it was about 2 hours each way. I'd leave for work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't get back till 8, 9 o'clock at night. That was my routine. It was tough, but I did it because I liked the work, and quite frankly, I was developing myself for something else. When the time came for me to tender my resignation, I did so professionally. I wrote a letter. I thanked her and others for the opportunity to have worked there. I thanked them for the many unique training opportunities that I'd had. I thanked them for the privilege of being involved in the area of work that we were involved in. And then I said, you know, this is my official notice that I am tendering my resignation as of, 3 weeks. And it was exactly 3 weeks from that day. So I think I gave my resignation on a Friday, and then 3 weeks on a Friday, boom, I was done. I made sure that before I left, I had posted my job on date, basically right after my resignation. I asked, can I post my job? And they said, yes, I posted it. I recruited my replacement. I hired my replacement. I organized my office so that everything was in its place. Everything was where it should be. And everything that should be there was in its place. I had written out procedures for recruiting and for all the different jobs that I did. I had folders of all the different jobs and how I did them. Any reports that I did, how to create the reports. I had all my files, electronic files, organized. And I had a tutorial on kind of what each of the files were for and then how I did them. And the day before, the afternoon before I left, I think the last 2 hours or so, I scrubbed my office from top to bottom. And so that office was spick and span when I left, and the counter gleamed because I even put furniture polish on the desktop. That office was ready. And I remember people coming into the office, and I always kept a clean office, but said, wow, Henry, this office everything is so beautiful. The next person's going to be so happy. Sure enough, I left on a Friday, that person showed up on a Monday, that's how they wanted it. But I would have been happy to make introductions. But I left on a high note. I hope that if that opportunity comes to you where you get a job and you're leaving, always leave on a high note. Always leave with your dignity intact. And remember, what you're doing is not for them. It's for you. Because they may have been the most miserable employers in the history of employing them. But you are always much better than that. And this is your chance to this is your way of getting sweet revenge. We'll be right back with Hour 2 of the Drive Time Careers in Business Radio Show with your host, Henry Roman.
You're listening to WARA, 1320 AM, Attleboro.
We are on a 7-minute break, so feel free, if you're on Facebook, to take a break, make some soup.
Welcome to WACS Daily News.
Get my phone number. That number, by the way, is 508.
Friday for a fundraiser.
That number is 508-222-1320. Even if you're calling long distance, I'm happy to take your call. Again, 508-222-1320. I'm going to go ahead and type it on the screen so that way if you want to call in, I'm happy to take your call. The only thing I ask is that you keep it clean. If you have foul language, I will cut you off. And let's see if I can do this. Oh dear. There we go. Call in at 508 222 1320. Let's see. All right. 508-222-1320. Good. Thank you for the like. I appreciate it. I need to do a little bit of prep work for the next hour, so please bear with me. I'll be right back. I'm just going to be doing some typing and some things. Okay, let's see.
That's it for today's update. You can watch all of our content by visiting our website, WACS.com, by downloading the WACS mobile app, or by downloading the WACS Roku channel. For WACS News, I'm Austin Ricketts.
Hi everyone, how about this? Today's afternoon high temperature typical of the 1st of May, which averages about 62 degrees. We're going to have clear skies overnight tonight. Temperatures will rapidly fall back to the upper 20s by morning, but that's still above average.
We're on break right now.
Begin to set in. Sunshine
5 more minutes.
Some clouds late in the day, maybe some colors at
Actually,
sunset,
4
high
minutes.
of 40. So about 23 degrees colder tomorrow, but still not bad. Some light rain, perhaps freezing rain and sleet at the start, moving in late tomorrow evening and into the overnight, near 30 degrees. And then some chilly light rain on Thursday morning
Mostly cloudy in the afternoon, a high of just 42. But again, it's rain, not snow. And then as we go into Friday, mild with showers in the low 50s, colder but bright over the weekend. For 13:20 a.m., I'm Jim Corbin.
The Attleboro Arts Museum will hold its annual flower show from Thursday, March 21st through Monday, March 24th. The theme of this year's flower show is Enchanted Forest, Magical Gardens Spring to Life. The flower show, now celebrating its 23rd year, features major garden displays, horticultural and artistic floral arranging, gardening presentations and demonstrations, and a nature-themed exhibition of original artwork throughout the museum.
You sit down at your table, you get your card. 25 squares hold the key. Which one will it be? I-25 072 or Lucky B13? Which one will be the square that makes you jump up and shout, Bingo! The Attleboro Elks Lodge 1014 hosts Bingo each Sunday at 887 South Main Street. Open to the public, the kitchen opens at 5 p.m. with a variety of food available. Bingo starts at 6 p.m. Prizes are awarded and proceeds support Elks charities. For further details, you can visit attleboroelks.org or you can call 508-222-5502. Remember, Elks care, Elks share.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in your closet, the back of your closet. What am I doing here? Would you keep caviar in the back of your fridge with the ketchup and old milk? Yeah, I don't think so. So what happened to us? I mean, have you seen my label? I used to summer in the Hamptons and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Sure, I never really fit you quite right, and one of my pockets is so small you can't even squeeze your hand into it. But it's all about the look. And I look good. I need to get back out on the scene so I can be seen. You know, going to fancy parties, getting expensive iced coffees, Sunday fun days, okay? So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers in Business Radio Show with your host, Henry Roman. Never been a disco guy. My wife certainly does. She does indeed. I better treat her right. That's right, I owe her a dinner. I told her last night on my way back from work, I said, I appreciate you so very much, my dear wife. So when I come home, I'm going to give you a massage. And sure enough, I did. When I got home, she was waiting. She says, how about my massage? I said, hold on, let me eat something. I ate something. I went upstairs. I was looking at my phone. She goes, how about my massage? And I said, it's coming, it's coming. And I finished, I had to write an email or something, respond to something. And she says, okay, are you done with your email? I said, yes, because now I'm ready for my massage. And so I did give her a massage, and she was very happy with it. We need to remember that we married our spouses for a reason. Before we were husband and wife, and before we were parents, we were lovers. And I don't mean that in a sexual sense. I mean that the person that you're with now, that you're married to now, there was a time when you just could not wait to be with him or with her. That you would think about him or her when you were working or studying or in other places, that you were intoxicated by her scent, that you loved how she looked, that you loved how she carried herself. And now that you've been married perhaps a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 years, some of that magic has been forgotten, and you have kind of are taking things for granted. I always tell married couples, don't take things for granted. Make sure that you care about the person and show them that you care. Because saying that you care and showing that you care are totally different things. There are people that say, oh, but I care about this, but they never prove it. They never show that they care. The way you show that you care about your kids is that you spend time with them, that you do things for them, that you You encourage them. The way that you show that you care for your wife is you send her a text message once in a while. Maybe I'll show you some of mine that I sent to Daisy. No, I won't do that. She'll kill me. Send her a text message saying that you love her. Just let her know that you care about her. And if you're a woman, same thing with your husband. Send them not so naughty text. I'm not. This is not that kind of show. But certainly keep your husband interested in you, because again, before you were husband and wife of parents, you were lovers, and you were attracted to each other, and you were attracted to each other sexually. And so use the tools that God has given you to keep your husband interested. And I think that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly what I mean. Whether you choose to acknowledge what I'm saying, well, that's your business. But it's so important that you show that you care. I care about tonight's address, presidential address. It's on at 9 p.m. So you have plenty of time to listen to the next hour of the show. You've got plenty of time to go out and get dinner. Maybe take your wife out to dinner tonight. Say, hey, let's celebrate. President Trump is speaking tonight. Even if you hate his guts, hey, President Trump is speaking. Let's have dinner so at least we can be fed before our heads explode. In my case, I'm going after the show. I have a prayer meeting at my church at 7:15, and so I will either go back home and pick up my wife, but there are days that she's busy grading the kids' papers and can't make it. So I just go to church myself. I'll usually stop at Taco Bell, get something to eat, and then I go to church for a prayer meeting, and I really look forward to it. That's my way of showing that I care about my church, and that's to support the various ministries. You can't say that you care about your faith and that you care about your religion if you don't patronize your churches. Or you can't say that you're, a member in good standing if you don't basically put your money where your mouth is. Now, your particular faith may not support tithing. It may actually, I think, Jewish congregations, instead of tithing, people make annual pledges, and they fulfill that pledge throughout the year however they wish, or however they can. Other churches, people don't put tithes, but maybe they donate their properties after they die. I think that happens a lot with Catholic parishioners. They may not tithe in their lives, but when they pass away, they bequeath their sometimes substantial fortunes to the Catholic Church. Good for them. My particular faith, we believe that we should return at least 1/10 of what we earn as our way of giving thanks to God and of supporting the ministries that we all have. And so if that's important to you, then people put their time and their effort. I have seen people that have spent tens of thousands of dollars on model trains. Now, for the life of me, I like maybe going to someone's house and watching them play with the train for a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most. And then I'm bored. I go, okay, what else do you want to show me besides, your train set? But these people can talk about their trains. They can talk about the various model trains that they have. They can talk about how they acquired this particular model train or that particular model train. They can tell you like the analogies between the model train and the real trains, and how this is a scale of 1 to 1,000. And as a matter of fact, the horsepower output of this model train is exactly 1/1000th of the actual train, or what. They can just talk about something that they're passionate about, and good for them. I'm not interested in that level of detail. But if you are passionate about something, then be passionate. Put your time and your effort into developing that passion. If you're a sports fan, by all means, follow your passion. But the last thing you want to be is someone with no passion, no desire, no lust for things. I mean, lust in a good way. That's sad when people live that way, when perhaps their only solace is maybe alcohol or drugs. That's escapism. And when people start escaping from life, that is truly, they may not be literally dead, But for society and for their family members and for their loved ones, they might as well be dead. And that's a shame. And so, just like the song says, you know, she works hard for her money, so you better treat her right. That's true, by the way, for your spouses. That's true for your children. That's true for your car. I mean, I have a 2011 Nissan Pathfinder, and you know that's going on 8 years now. I got to treat that car right. As a matter of fact, I've got to change the timing belt on it. I've got to change the transmission oil, and then a couple other things I need to do. My way of showing the car that I care about it, because the alternative is for the car to just basically crap out on the road, and then I have to get it towed to a service station and get the repairs done only at twice the cost or more. And so, if you care about something, take care of it. Show people that you care. And you know what? You will be surprised that people will show you that they care about you as well. We'll be right back. I don't know how I became philosophical in this section.
Enrich RI volunteers with years of homeschooling experience represent Introduction to Homeschooling, a workshop for parents new to homeschooling or interested in homeschooling. This program will cover the basics of homeschooling and will be held at
Thank you, Rose.
the J. Moore Memorial Library in Johnston, Rhode Island on Thursday, February 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. This event is open to the public. For more information or to register for the event, you can visit enrichri.org.
Looking to make a difference? Have extra time during the week? The Literacy Center is looking for you. By becoming a volunteer at the Literacy Center, you could help someone learn to read, study for their citizenship test, learn English, and even help them with their high school equivalency. For more information on how to volunteer or join the next tutor training, you can view our website at theliteracycenter.com or call 508-226-3603. The Literacy Center, building a better community.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Guild Foundation and the Ad Council.
The Reverend Dr. Martin
All
Luther
right,
King
one
Jr.
more
fought for the
spot,
equality and economic
and we're live.
prosperity for all people, regardless of their differences. Today, his words and message still live on. This week on AACS Watch, the MLK Municipal Ceremony, where city leaders and dignitaries honor the memory of our nation's greatest civil rights leader. You can watch this program and all of our quality programs from around the area in high definition on AACS.com.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers in Business radio show with your host, Henry Roman. For those of you that are more than 40 years old, you'll recognize this theme song. It's from the TV show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, where for half an hour to an hour every week, we would be regaled to sights that most of us would never see. Luxurious homes, fancy cars, boats, planes, and the lifestyles of those people. Let me tell you this about that. There are people that have many more things than you, but are they happier than you? Do they have happiness? Do they have peace? Do they feel like they have reached that point in their lives where they're in control of their lives? You will be surprised to know that there is not a correlation, and I said not, a correlation between extreme wealth and extreme happiness. People that are extremely wealthy can be happy for short periods of time, but sometimes the poorest people in the world are the happiest. Case in point, for a sermon I once did, I did some research, and I wanted to know the happiest countries in the world, the countries with the greatest percentage of people that were happy, as indicated by low drug usage, low incidence of mental health, strong family units, and basically a sense of belonging and a sense of purpose. And there was a direct, or I should say an inverse correlation, which means opposite. The richer the country was, the more miserable their people were, or the more unhappy they were. The most miserable country in the world to live in is Singapore, and yet it's one of the most affluent countries. People are stressed, they're unhappy, they don't have time with their families, they're constantly on treadmills. It is a constant scamper for existence. Some of the happiest people in the world are located about 1,000 miles away in the Philippines. The people there are some of the poorest people in the world, and yet I've been to the Philippines. I will tell you, I have never met a country filled with such gracious, lovely, happy people who will drop anything. They will drop anything to spend time with you if they can. And they'll make it happen. Does that mean that they are off from work? No, they're good workers. But they will make time for you. If that means that they have to get up early or stay up late, they'll do it. If that means that they have to take time away from other things, they will. Because that's who they are. And the scores for countries like Philippines, very high. And there are other countries in Latin America that also have very high happiness quotients. But that said, we live in America. And as Americans, we got to make a living. We got to make money. We've got to get, we got to make money so that we can buy the things that we want, so that we can do the things that we want, so that we can have the fun that we want, right? Very important. I know that I've set aside time in June to go on a vacation, and I have set aside some time in December so I can go on vacation again. I'm grateful for my job that gives me a very generous bucket of time that I can actually take time off from work. When I'm there, I'm working hard, but when I'm on vacation, I can relax, I can spend time with my family, and I can decompress, which is absolutely lovely. I'm asked this question a lot. Henry, sometimes it's Uncle Henry, sometimes it's Mr. Roman. How often should I switch jobs? And my response to them is, are you happy in your job? Are you being recognized? Are you getting appropriate pay raises? Are you moving up in your career? If all of these things are true, and in many cases, for many people, all of them are not true, then it is time. What I tell people is, if you're not looking for another job within 2 to 3 years, or if you haven't moved up to the next level in your company in 2 or 3 years, it's time to look for another job. Statistically, people who are in jobs for more than 3 years make up to 50% less than people who switch jobs every 2 to 3 years. I just had this really sad interview with a candidate who'd been with the same company for 18 years and had been doing pretty much the same job for 15 years. He got laid off, and now he's looking for a job. And he's been in one of these jobs where it's kind of difficult, it's kind of a niche product. He's having a very difficult time finding a job. Welcome, listener. And my advice to him was, how can you switch your resume around? Is there something you can do to make your resume a little bit more attractive? Let's not talk about the work that you've done, because if that's the case, you could fill 15 pages. But let's talk about the achievements that you've had. And so I had to talk with him and help him change his resume so that rather than just having one job basically on one page and a listing of things that he did, is I broke it up and I kind of put the job at the bottom and put the different jobs, different career levels that he had achieved at the top. So that way people could see, career progression, and at the bottom they eventually figure out that it was just with one company. It used to be that if you put on your resume, I got 35 years of experience, that was actually a great thing. But I tell people, having 35 years of experience on your resume is not a good thing. The most you should have on your resume, you should have anywhere from maybe from the last 10 to 12 years of your life in a resume. That's it. Anything more, it's starting to, show you, you're starting to show your age. And you don't want people to just screen you out simply because they think you're too old. If someone says, well, I'm looking for someone in their 30s, this person is 40, nah, we'll cut them out. You know what? It's illegal to discriminate based on age, but it happens all the time. I actually told someone, do you have gray hair? And he said, yeah, lots of it. I said, well, lucky you, you have hair. I don't. I said, dye your hair. It'll take 10 years off of you. It's unfortunate, and I wish I didn't have to say this, but it's true. With, by taking 10 years off of your appearance, people are going to think you're younger, and you're going to be more attractive to them. And the fact that you have, 35 years of experience, they'll kind of forget that. They'll just kind of figure that you have a lot of experience and you look great. That was unfortunate that I had to say that. And I could tell the person was like, oh, I've never done this before. I said, are you married? And how long have you been married? 25 years. I said, your wife knows how to do it. Ask her. I asked him to get in touch with me to kind of just let me know how things are going. Haven't heard from him. So he either got another job, or he didn't take my advice, or he did take my advice, but he's still not kind of getting ahead. So that's a tough one. But the job market is such that you got to get out there every 3 years. At least every 3 years, you got to get out there to see what's out there. Because with this current economic situation, most companies are giving their employees either 0% raises, excuse me. And I worked for a company that gave you absolutely no raises every year. 0. Your raise was a job. The fact that you had a job, that was your raise. I hated that company. Other companies will give you maybe a 2% raise, which is great, but not that great considering that things are going, the rate of inflation right now is about 2.5%. If you're getting a 2% raise, that means that you just lost 0.5% of your buying power. So definitely not a thing to do. You don't want to get behind. You want to get ahead. If the inflation rate is at 2.5%, you need at least a 3% raise just to stay basically where you were. But when you switch jobs, you can expect anywhere from a 10, 20, up to a 30% pay raise. I have switched jobs where I went from making $70,000 a year to making $93,000 a year. That was that was so great for my income. And of course, I got used to that money very quickly. And then I switched to another job. I went from $93,000 a year to well over $100,000, I want to say, because then people will figure out what I'm earning. But that is what you want to do. When you work for a company more than 3 years, you're going to get maybe a 2% raise, maybe a 5%. If you're a stellar employee and you're like basically blowing it out of the water, you're going to get a 5% raise, which means if you're making $50,000 a year, now you're making $52,500. That's not going to change your life. But if you find a job with another organization, chances are pretty good they're going to offer you at least $60,000, especially if you're a good candidate. So already you're way ahead of the game. You've already achieved a 20% pay raise just by switching companies, basically to maybe doing the same job. That is what you're looking for. Oh, a lot of people waving. A lot of viewers today. Excellent. I appreciate you viewing me, not only listening on the radio, but also watching me on Facebook. I really appreciate your patronage. We're talking about jobs right now and about how often you should switch jobs. This sounds very mercenary for me to say that you've got to look out for yourself and that your employer does not have your best interest at heart. And sadly, when I talk from a corporate standpoint, it's not that they don't have your best interest at heart. It's that the need to show a profit every year trumps their desire to retain as many employees as possible. I'm not sure if, that's entirely accurate, but that's pretty much the reality of the corporate world. If they have to cut you, they may like you, they may think you're great, they may feel very bad that they have to get rid of you, but they're going to do it because it's either that or having negative numbers on their spreadsheets and the possibility of the company no longer being viable. So when a company is declining, you can either cut costs or you can increase revenue. Those are your only two options. If you can't increase your revenues, you got to cut your costs. And the greatest cost for most organizations is people. So that's why you are a people and you are subject to being cut. And if you understand that you could be laid off at any time for any reason, you can be fired at any time for any reason in the at-will states, then you've got to really look out for yourself. Look out for number one. And looking out for number one means that every 3 years or so, you're going to have to look for a job and look for another job. The bad part of that is that many of the relationships that you've made, we're going to go away because, I don't know about you, but whenever I leave a job, I may keep one or two friends or acquaintances, but for the most part, the relationships that I had all go away. The people maybe that I used to hang out with or interact with on a regular basis, since we're not interacting at work, we don't interact anymore, which means that friendship basically goes away because it's a work friendship. So you've got your Facebook friends, you've got your friends, and you've got your, your work friends. And your work friends come and go. Facebook friends, sometimes, they're a little bit more maybe, but they're superficial. And then your personal friends hopefully are your friends, forever. So finding that job after 3 years, it's going to be critical for you, especially if you're looking to move up. 10%, 20%, 30% pay raises are possible. Sometimes you do have to take a step back to take a step forward. I've done that in my career. I've gone from a job making a lot of money, and I took a step back because basically I needed a job, or I wanted that job so then I can get my next job. And I've done that. I took a pay cut at one job because I was doing project management work that I really wanted to do. And once I was able to, I actually took another job in project management where I doubled, and I'm not exaggerating, I doubled my hourly rate because now I had experience in that particular field of work. I'm at the point in my career right now where making as much money as possible is not as important to me. I'm making okay money right now. I have a job that's flexible. I love the people that I work with. I have great respect for my coworkers. I know fully well that if they need to cut me and they have to, they're going to do it, and they're going to feel sad, but it's part of the deal. But while I can still have this job, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do my best job, because if it affords me the possibility and the opportunity to be here with you, radio listeners, every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So when you weigh everything out, that's what you have to look at. This job is paying me well. I'm moving up in my career. I'm getting regular, very good raises and bonuses. It meets my needs professionally, and I'm growing. If that's the case, by all means, stay where you are. But if that's not all the case, it is time to look for another job. And there are so many places to look. And it's so easy these days to find a job and to get another job. The unemployment rate right now, I think I was looking at some statistics. Unemployment rate right now is 4.0%, the latest statistic from January. Total non-farm payroll employment increased by 304,000 jobs in January. The number of unemployment, basically the unemployment rate and the number of people unemployed has been unchanged. Even with the government shutdown, the unemployment rate did not go up. So things are looking good. If you want to get another job, this is the time to do it. If you wait too long and the economy takes a nosedive, it's going to be a lot harder to look for another job because, quite frankly, there aren't going to be as many jobs. So make hay while the sun is shining, because it's not going to shine forever. We'll be right back.
Richards Memorial Library in North Attleboro will host a Meet the Local Filmmakers event on Saturday, February 9th from 2 to 3 p.m. Teens aged 11 to 17 will meet local filmmakers Rob Lee and Christina Ferry and learn what it takes to make short films. Topics will include screenwriting, hiring talent, production, post-production, and film festival submission. Teens will also view a scene from their upcoming film about school bullying and hear from some of the local teens in the film. For more information, you can call the library's children's department at 508-699-0122.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
What are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
Well, what are you doing in my room?
I'm your sensitive venture. Don't you remember me? Don't you know that we miss you?
Miss me? Who misses me?
You know, all your friends in the forest. The trees, the pond, that little fort that you made out of branches. We all miss you.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
The forest is not that far away. Have an adventure today. I'm sure your mom would take you.
You're right. I should get up. I want to have fun. Play in puddles, catch frogs, and climb trees. Hey, Mom!
Yeah, hon.
Steven, what is that in your hand? It's my sense of adventure, Mom. It's telling me we need to get out of the house.
2 more minutes before we go back live.
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Amico Inc. is currently looking for qualified individuals to help fill various positions within the company. Located at 33 Perry Avenue, Amigo is offering full and part-time positions in addition to per diem opportunities. Amigo offers first, second, and third shift availability to help fit your needs and theirs. When you join Amigo, you will help to create a positive client experience for all the individuals we have the privilege of serving on a daily basis. For more information on all positions available, please call 508-455-6200 or visit our website at amigoinc.org.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers and Business Radio Show with your host, Henry Roman. Oh, my goodness. Chuck Berry. I love Chuck Berry. When my kids were little, they listened to lots of 1950s and 60s rock and roll, including Motown. And, sometimes you don't realize the impact that you're having on your kids until later. But I remember driving down the road and I was listening to the Beach Boys. And I think it was, let's see, which one was it? I think it was either 409 or some other Beach Boys song. But the song is playing and I've got the radio up and my kids are in the back. We're traveling somewhere, probably to visit their grandmother or maybe a road trip. We took a lot of road trips when we were kids. And I hear this little voice in the background singing along to the music. Now, I've been listening to this music since my youth, and I never learned the lyrics. I just never learned them. And yet there's a little voice in the back seat of the car singing along to the song, and she knew every single word in the song. She was singing along with the lyrics. And so when the song finished, there was another song, and she sang along to that one. She knew every single song that I was playing. And of course, it was a mixtape, so it was basically I'd play the same songs over and over again. Fast forward to when my daughter is in her 20s, and she had an Apple, an iPod, and I checked the songs that she had. I just happened to see her iPod. A lot of the songs that she had were songs from the 50s and 60s, rock and roll and Motown. And that's still some of her favorite music. So the impact that you have in your children's lives is so awesome and spectacular and important. And many times as parents, we forget this. We are training our children to be like us in many ways. We're also training them, hopefully, to think for themselves and to make critical decisions. And hopefully to counter some of the negative effects that our kids will experience later on in life. Like, unfortunately, my daughter is left of center, way left. I don't know how the heck that happened, because I have a son who's hard right with me. Thank goodness, yay, Joe. And then I have another son, Jacob, who's somewhat right. He's a conservative, but not too much. He's going to college, and he's constantly buffeted by the liberal tide that wants to wash him away and take him to the other side. But we have a wonderful and incredible opportunity to really change the world simply by being good parents to our kids. And so, by all means, play opera to your kids. To this day, my kids still hate opera. My son Joe would run around the house with his hands over his ears, yelling, "Oh, my aching head," because I would play opera on Saturday afternoons. But I'm pretty sure that when he marries and has kids, I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that he will be playing opera for his kids. And same thing with my other children as well, hopefully. A man can hope. I want to talk a little bit during this segment about education. I was just talking about the importance of educating our children. But there's also something that we should think about for ourselves. If we want to move ahead in our careers, education is really important. I have a friend that I work with, and great lady, really, really like her. She's a hard worker. And the other day I told her, "Hey, you haven't finished your degree yet, have you?" And she said, no, unfortunately, I had to drop out after 2 years. I said, "Why?" She says, "Unfortunately, I couldn't afford it anymore." I said, "Well, what's your college debt?" She told me $60,000. I don't know about you, but $60,000, that's a lot of money. I mean, I stress because I have, a $2,000 credit card bill. and I gotta pay it down. I mean, it was a lot more than that. I don't like to have any credit card debt, so I'm aggressive in paying down my debts. But $60,000 is really hard to pay down, especially if you have to pay, if you're not making that much money because you're in a low-paying job, and you're making $700 a month payments toward your tuition debt, plus another maybe $1,000 a month or more toward your rent. I mean, that's $1,700 right there. That pretty much, for the most part, that's more than what most people earn in entry-level jobs or even mid-level jobs. I mean, that's a $50,000, I'm thinking about top of my head, about $50,000 a year that you have to earn just to be able to pay your rent and your college tuition. Forget about food, forget about utilities, forget about entertainment. So I tell my friends, look, you don't have to get a degree to make yourself attractive professionally. What you do have to do, though, is you definitely have to make yourself marketable. Now, if you were lucky enough to get an email from me, you'll notice this, a business email. I don't add my alphabet soup to my personal email. I think that's kind of dumb, kind of silly, actually. But in my work email, when I send emails to people, my name is Henry G. Roman, SHRMSCP, SPHR, I already got CSP. Lots of alphabets behind that. For people who are not in my world, that doesn't mean anything. But for people that are in my world, especially if I'm interacting with other human resources professionals, they know that I have 2 certifications in human resources and 2 senior level certifications in human resources. And those certifications are hard to get. I will tell you, I'm an engineer by training, but some of the hardest test I've ever taken was that SPHR exam. That's the Society for Human Resources Professional. Or Senior Professional Human Resources Professional, thank you. Then I have a second HR certification. And then I went ahead and studied and got another certification in project management, in an aspect of project management called Scrum. The total for these 3 certifications in terms of education, testing fees, and so on, annual dues, maybe $2,000 it cost me to get these certifications, plus blood, sweat, and time. There are many people that take these tests and fail. Many people. The pass rate on these tests are pretty low. But once you get the certification, as long as you take enough continuing education courses and submit your credentials for recertification, you keep certification, basically forever. What has this meant in terms of my earning power? It has meant a lot to me. I went from making X amount of dollars to probably double what I started out with, mostly because of those certifications that I've achieved. It's opened up many opportunities for me in terms of professional development. When I came here from Hawaii, I basically got a job as a recruiter because I was a subject recruiter for clinical studies in Hawaii. And so I was starting my human resources career in my late 40s. I had made a career change. I actually made several career changes. I started out life as a nuclear engineer, did not want to work around machines, went to college, got a job, and became a professional salesperson and realized that sales, even though I was good at it, I did not want to be a salesperson for the rest of my life. That was the best decision I ever made to get out of sales. I segued into project management, human resources, and I'm back in the human resources / project management role, which I absolutely love. So it took me a couple of steps to get to where I am now, but having that certification and that extra education was critical, because people want to break into, they want to become an HR professional, but they majored in chemistry. The chances of you getting a job in HR, slim to none, but I did it. This is the job that I want to be in. Certifications make the difference between being considered for a job as a manager or basically getting another recruiter job. Now, I know people that have been recruiters for 15, 20 years. And they're good at what they do, but is it really what they want to do for the rest of their careers? Probably not. I talk to a lot of my friends that have been recruits for a long time, and they're stuck. I mean, when they quit their jobs and looking for another job, they basically only get recruiter jobs because what have they been doing? Recruiting. And I tell them, you got to shake things up. You got to get another certification. You got to make a segue. Maybe you have to take a step back to maybe get a job where you do recruiting work and you do, other kinds of work. I had to say this to one of my friends that I work with. She works in a sales support capacity, but she has a master's degree in project management. And I told her the other day, I said, why are you here? Why are you doing this? She says, I need the money. I said, well, I understand that, but you can make money in project management. And her response was, I never got a job in project management. Well, I said, well, what have you done to try to break into project management? She said, nothing. Well, if you don't try, you don't get. I know it's difficult sometimes to figure out what you want to do, but you got to do something. You got to try, because if you don't try to get that job, you're never going to get it. And like I tell my kids, you fail at 100% of what you don't try. But you may fail at 99% of what you do try. But it's that 1% that can make life very sweet and very profitable indeed. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about a business idea that I've got. Maybe I shouldn't be telling you, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. And we'll be right back.
Enrich RI volunteers with years of homeschooling experience.
That's right. If you're listening on Facebook, you're going to hear my great $1 billion idea. And who knows, you may even have the chance to financially invest.
And will be held at the
Absolutely not.
J. Moore Memorial
Probably not.
Library in Johnston, Rhode Island on Thursday, February 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. This event is open to the public. For more information or to register for the event, you can visit enrichri.org.
Staying at home, surrounded by family and friends.
1 minute.
Resting comfortably with your illness under
Till we go
control.
back live.
And support for your family caregivers. That's what most Americans want at life's end. Hospice can make it happen. With the help of hospice, patients and families alike can focus on what's most important, enjoying life together and living as fully as possible. Feel free to contact Community DNA Hospice at 508-222-0118. You can also visit communitydna.com for more information.
Excuse me, I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada, nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Drive Time Careers in Business radio show with your host, Henry Roman. We are here every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. We're also on the internet on wararadio.com. We are on Facebook Live every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we are available offline. You can download the podcast on wararadio.com. Usually takes about 4 or 5 days for the most recent podcast to be put live. But once it's live, you can go back and listen to previous shows. If there are certain segments that you really like and that you find inspirational, you can download them, and please feel free to share them on your Facebook posts. And if you like what you're hearing, please give me feedback. And if you don't like what you're hearing, please let me know as well. I don't get things right 100% of the time. I don't think I'm right all the time. I'm also willing to learn. I'm a work in progress. And that's been the story of my life since the beginning. In about 3 hours and 10 minutes, the most important man in our country, the President of the United States of America, will deliver his State of the Union address. in the House of Representatives. This is something that presidents have been doing for the last 100 years. This has not been going on since the beginning of the Republic. There was a period of time when the State of the Union was actually delivered and read in Congress. But since 1913 or 1915, 1917, I think if I'm not mistaken, Woodrow Wilson decided to go back and deliver the State of the Union in person in the House of Representatives. Now, this event or this venue, since it takes place in the House of Representatives, the president has to be invited by the Speaker of the House or by the Majority Leader, who happens to be Nancy Pelosi. And we know that those two have been locked in battle. And some of it has been pretty, in my opinion, pretty darn petty. And they've engaged in tit-for-tat exchanges. And something that Pelosi, I think, has probably learned is you don't hit someone from New York. Because in New York, we learn that when you hit someone, they're going to hit you back. And Trump is one of these people that when you hit him, he's going to try to not only hit you back, but he's going to hit you back even harder. That's just who he is. Whether you like it or not, that's just who he is. And so this idea of this thing where she told him he's not coming, he cannot deliver the State of the Union address because the government was closed. He responded by basically canceling her flight on government planes. These senators were sitting, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but there was a video of them sitting in these buses ready to go to the airport and be shuttled to Europe and to the Mideast on military jet planes. And then Trump says, you ain't going. They had to get off the bus. I'm hoping that in 3 hours, or 3 hours and 8 minutes now, that Trump will deliver a message of hope and of collaboration. What does collaboration mean? Well, I'm going to read to you the Wikipedia definition of collaboration. I used to give money to Wikipedia. I stopped because I don't like how they tend to trash conservative figures. I understand that Wikipedia is a collaborative platform, but I don't know. You've got to please be more fair and balanced, because you're going to lose the support of people who want to support you, but at the same time don't like your political agenda. Take the political agenda out of your freaking business model, and then you'll be fine. Collaboration is the process of two or more people or organizations working together to complete a task or achieve a goal. Collaboration is similar to cooperation. Most collaboration requires leadership, although the form of leadership can be social within a decentralized or egalitarian group. Teams that work collaboratively often access greater resources, recognition, and rewards when facing competition for finite resources. Structured methods of collaboration encourage introspection of behavior and communication. Such methods aim to increase the success of teams as they engage in collaborative problem solving. Let's not dive too deep. If you have access to the internet, if you're listening on Facebook, you have the same access to Wikipedia that I do. Just go to Wikipedia and do collaboration, or just go to Google and do collaboration, and then click on the Wikipedia definition. Collaboration works. People do not have to like each other to work well together. And that is the secret. I can dislike the person that I work with, but we can still work well together. We can still achieve the goals, shared goals together. And I am asking, I'm begging the leadership in Massachusetts, if you are a political person and listening to my show for some bizarre reason, please do not discount the president's words simply because he belongs to a different party than you do. Or perhaps his ideals are different than yours, maybe totally different than yours. Listen to what he's got to say acknowledge that in some aspects he's right, and you've got to give him credit where credit is due. We do have a robust community. We are growing. We're doing pretty darn well. I'm going to give you a few examples of collaborations that work very well together. You would not be flying in a plane if it weren't for the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers collaborated. They used their individual strengths to make up for their individual weaknesses, to deliver on a concept and build a product that was patentable and then that was improved upon. And we benefit from that now. I wish there was some kind of collaboration to reduce wait times, but that's a whole other story. The fact that we can get from point A to point B is a miracle. James Watson and Francis Crick, they're two people that collaborated in research, if I'm not mistaken, in Australia. And they discovered DNA. They discovered the structure of DNA. And the understanding that we have now of disease and medicines that we have are directly the result of the collaboration between those two people. They didn't even know each other very well before they started working well together. We all know about the Beatles, John Lennon and Paul McCartney. They started recording together. And they developed a partnership that lasted, as long as it does now. I mean, the Beatles' music is still very popular. Larry Page and Sergey Brin brought the internet to our fingertips. Larry Page and Sergey Brin met when Brin, a student at Stanford, gave Page a tour of the campus. They started the company that would later become Google as a way to experiment with search algorithms, but it's grown into a suite of technological wonders that has become an integral part of the lives of millions. If it weren't for them, many of these things that we take for granted, Google, Gmail, which I use a lot, even Facebook, is a direct result of this collaborative atmosphere. Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield, Ben and Jerry, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be fat. I love their ice cream. But their collaboration, one was a visionary, one was a doer. Same thing with Apple computers. Steve Jobs would not have been successful if it hadn't been for Steve Wozniak. Steve Jobs was the salesman. Steve Wozniak was the brain. He's the one that developed the Apple computer. And so we as a nation need to collaborate. They say that we either need to hang together or we're going to hang separately. Tonight is the night that I'm hoping that our president will get in front of a hostile audience. And I'm pretty sure a couple of people are going to make it a point to show how much they hate him. But I'm hoping that he will use that platform and that podium to reach out to the people on the other side and acknowledge that perhaps some of his approaches, some of his responses have been less than cordial. And I'm also hoping that he's going to make a pledge to cut down on the use of tweets. I think that will generate a huge round of applause from both sides of the aisle. If he takes the opportunity now to show that he's human and that he has the best interests of the country at heart, he is going to take the house down. He is going to bring the house down, and people are going to see Trump differently. I am an optimist. I realize that what I have is an imperfect president who's easily provoked and is quick to hit back when he feels that he's been hit. But I'm praying that his daughter and his sons are sitting with him and saying, Dad, this is the opportunity for you to be the kind of leader that this country needs, to be a healer and to be the one that perhaps is not loved by all, but is respected by all. If he can achieve that in the next 3 hours and 1 minute, I think this country is going to be the freight train that cannot be stopped for the next 100 years. And I get goosebumps thinking about that. We will be back next week. Thank you for listening. God bless America. God bless you. Please go to church. Take your children to church. Always give God the glory and the credit. And keep on trucking. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening, my Facebook audience. This podcast is going to be saved. Please put it on your Facebook posts. Share it with your friends. Aun si no hablan el idioma inglés, por favor, put it on your Facebook post. We all need to hear this message. Being a conservative Republican is not just for white people. If you're brown, you can be a coconut like me. Brown on the outside, white on the inside, but American through and through. Take care, God bless, and we will see you next week, next Tuesday, 4 p.m.
Listening to